here. So today I am going to do, I'm going to unbox this FeelTech 6900 signal generator. So the lab is coming together here. This is one of the last key components for the overall setup. And well, like everything else, I watched a lot of reviews, read a lot of reviews about what to get when it comes to signal generators. Of course, the march of digital keeps going on, and so for the hobbyist zone, this FeelTech 6900 looks like a pretty good choice. It seems fairly sophisticated, although I'm sure it doesn't have the same high-end parts as sort of a high-end unit. But it should do for my purpose, just to troubleshoot audio equipment. So I ordered from AliExpress. I did a little bit of research. I kind of like to try to order items from the original manufacturer. So there we can see a lot of bubble wrap, FeelTech FY6900. It's I think a 60 megahertz signal generator. I have to say that I'm pretty impressed with the AliExpress shipping. It arrives in 3-4 weeks, which is not bad compared to a lot of the other items that come across from China. You can see they've done a good job wrapping it. If you're into watching somebody take bubble wrap off of something, this must be an awesome video. Okay. The bubble wrap's all off. We have a nondescript box. It opens up over here. And what do we have inside the box? We've got a quality certificate. Okay. Not filled out. It's got checkers, so maybe that's the card that the quality engineer throws in. Okay. We've got the unit itself. I'll unwrap that in a minute. And a USB cable. I seem to be building up more of these USB cables than I know what to do with these days. BNC to BNC connector. We've got a set of BNC to alligator clip cables. So there's 2 in there, and another power supply cord. It looks like a reasonably short one, which is good because these cords are all over the place. And that's the whole box, nothing else, nothing in there. Okay. So I don't know if you can tell, the unit itself is really not very large. And you can see my hand can kind of cover the whole unit. Okay. Yeah, so there's a bail here. Okay. So you can set that up. And so it does not have the same feel as the other components, but in the case of the signal generator, I was going a little more for form. Oh. A lot of the signal generators that I saw are pretty basic. This one seems to just has a bit of a more elaborate look to it. Now I'm going to plug this in. We're going to turn it on. Have a quick look. This is mainly an unboxing video. And then one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to open it up and we'll have a look inside. I should point out on the back, there are a bunch of connections here on the back. So good news is on this unit is that they don't try to make it seem as though it's a North American or European or some other zone kind of unit. The voltage range is 110 to 240. Sync out, sync in. There's a input for an oscillator, trigger input. What I will say is that it feels like pretty flimsy plastic, to be honest with you. There's sort of a little bit of a design on the top of the case to make it look a little less boring. The thing honestly feels like it barely weighs anything. Makes you wonder if there's actually anything inside. But it looks like there is. Well, there's an air hole here, but I don't think there's a fan. I'll have a look in a minute. One thing I noticed, so there's a power switch here on the back. There's also I guess this must be a soft power switch here on the front. So let's hook that up. All right, so first thing first, I went to get another cord. I got one with a right angle connector, which I sort of like. Now, you might have some slightly mixed feelings about this, but I like the fact that the cord, that the mount allows the right angle cord to run behind the unit. It's kind of interesting. The Regal that you can see in the background there, it has one of these right angle, well, it comes with a right angle cord, but the socket is mounted the other way, and so the cord runs off to the edge of the unit, which is a little weird, and unlike this, which has a bunch of connectors in the back, and you could say the wire might get in the way, the Regal has no connectors in the back. So I guess that's a bit of a plus. Anyways, it's all plugged in. So let's turn it on in the back. I guess it's on in the front too. So it starts up pretty quick. And you can see there's channel 2. I don't know if you can see the screen, but it's off now. When it's on, it lights up. I like that. That's one of the reasons I got this unit. I like that I'm kind of into the light up buttons. So like that. Channel 1, it's on, it's off. Channel 2, it's off. So there's sort of a soft power off. And you can see that at soft power off, the power button cycles through. Not so thrilled about that. I'd prefer a power button that really turns the power off. Yeah, so you can see that when you turn it on, it comes back right away. Now I wonder if I turn this off. Okay, turn it off in the back. Yeah, so it seems to turn on, if you turns on in powered on mode as opposed to powered off mode. That's a little odd. Sort of makes this button here at the front feel a little redundant. All it does is turns the unit off. You can hear some clicks there. There's some mechanisms inside turning off. Probably the switches on the outputs. And of course, so when it turns on really quickly. In any case, I did get this unit because I liked the fact that it's got an LCD display. If we can see, this works pretty quickly. I can see what people say the beeping get annoying. So I guess the beeping can get pretty annoying. I agree there. Okay. Now frequency. So it says frequency there. I don't want this to be a review video, really. Okay, so the graphic there is only there to tell you what a sine wave looks like, if you can't really remember. It doesn't really change. So you can adjust frequency, amplitude, the offset, and duty, and the phase. And that's, in terms of the interface, that seems pretty straightforward. We'll have to get into some of the other items later on. So pretty straightforward. Doesn't seem like it'd be that hard to figure out. But like I said, we'll get into other items later on. One of the things I want to do, really, this is more of an unboxing teardown video. I just wanted to show that everything works. I want to have a look on the inside of the unit. So give me a second to figure out exactly how it comes open. I have some rough idea, having watched a few videos. And we'll see what it looks like on the inside, and we'll see if this particular unit is any different than the ones that that we've seen before. So let's just look at the steps of opening it. I'll say that it's harder to do in real life than it makes it seem when you're watching someone else do it. The middle of the case, both in the front and the back, you can see top and bottom, that's pretty easy to pry open. There's a lot of flex in the plastic, but there are also catches on the side, and these are harder to get to release. But a little careful placement of pry bar spudger has gotten that off on that side. And usually, once you get one side going, the other side comes pretty easily. Maybe not in this case. So, a little bit of a weird angle there. Okay, so I got the pry tool in there. Just takes a little bit of force and some leverage. And that comes off. So you can see that the one thing that is hooked up that is still going to dangle there is the socket. So we'll have to be a little cautious there. And let's work on getting the front off. Okay, let's put this on a little bit. Okay. So the front's a little more tricky because we've got the bail here, but we'll just need a little bit of an angled pry bar here. There we go. Fortunately, you don't have to stick it in very far. The clasps are right at the front. Okay. Won't be much of a problem. Bottom, not much of a problem. This side. Okay, so we've got a challenge there. The tool in there, that's coming off. Got it off on all four sides, I think. And the whole panel comes off. And then we're left with the guts of the unit, which are hard to see. It comes apart. It's got a pole in the middle there. Let's just try to tease that apart a little more. I certainly hope they haven't stuck a screw in here. It does feel like there's something in there. Yeah. So, I'm gonna have to slice that open. I hate when they do that. Anyways, you know what they say. In for a penny, in for a pound. So, we'll just take the knife here. Slice through there. And sure enough, there's a screw there. Looks like a Phillips head. Long screw. Well, now that comes apart quite easily. And so, let's see what we see. So what do we have? Well, you can see we've got power supply board here. Pretty clean layout, pretty simple. And we've got the signal generator controller board, main surface mount control circuit there. There's a set of cables that run over to the front panel display, display controller, circuitry, the annoying speaker is there too. It says remove seal after washing. Well, it's still there. So you can see that nothing too surprising there. There is no actual fan in the unit, although you can see that it's got all the screws to mount a fan. And a lot of complaints that the wiring here is really a fairly low gauge, so sort of a much lower gauge than what you would want it to actually connect to your mains voltage. So we can see that the ground wire is coming right off of here, and it's a fairly thin wire, and a lot of people mod this to convert this to a heavier gauge ground wire, since it's connecting directly to the socket. And then you can see that the other mains wires, there's the fuse there, the voltage coming in, the hot and the neutral there, although they're not color coded, they're all just gray wires. And then the positive and negative, which on the circuit board, I don't know if you can tell, on the circuit board they're indicated as red and black, but in our case they're white, so I'm pretty sure that these are fine for the voltage that's coming off the power supply here, but probably the ground could probably be a little beefier. Other than that, you can see the 3 BNC connectors there, and a bunch of relays. Let's zoom in a little bit here. You can see those relays. Those are pretty clearly used to switch in the higher voltages, and also to turn the channel 1, channel 2 outputs on and off. Got a heatsink there. It's probably a power transistor of some kind under there, I guess. I guess they must feel that some people go in here, because of course they've got the URL for the company here. So I guess one thing that tells me is that FeelTech is the manufacturer, designer of the board in this unit. There are a variety of rebranded units like this, which is fairly typical. And I mean, the board itself looks pretty clean, pretty straightforward, no big surprises. Not going to fiddle with anything on there. Not my thing. So, looks pretty good. I might consider at some point performing the mod that a lot of other people have done on the ground wire here. What's interesting, which is also kind of cheesy, is that everything else has been, you must not really worry about it. Everything else has kind of got a slip-on connector, as you can see. So you can, oops, let's just move that out of the way. You can slide those things on and off, which is, that's a nice thing. Unfortunately, they're not color-coded, so you don't have to mark them in advance before you take them off so you don't screw it up. But they've soldered the ground wire, as opposed to spending the 10th of the cent to put a crimp-on slide-on connector there too. Wonders never cease. Okay, so room for a fan, but no fan. Probably not too hard to wire one in. All the right voltages, I would guess. Not really a lot of space used inside, so lots of extra space. The unit must not get very hot. Would be nice if they used some color-coded wire, both for the DC supply off of the power supply board onto the main circuit board, and also if they would have color-coded the AC parts as well. That's just tacky. I mean, it really wouldn't even cost anything extra to do that. So, anyways, I'm going to put it back together. Thanks for watching the teardown. And, well, I'll probably be doing some other activity later on to just see how it works. We'll test it out with the scope to just see what kind of clarity we get on the outputs. And remove seal after washing. Huh. Yeah. We'll do them a favor. We'll take the seal off. Okay. Yeah, so I'll give it a whirl a little later on. We'll create another video. It is interesting that this is version 2.1 of the control board, so clearly it's undergone some mods, and you can see the version of the board here, version 2.02 of the display and front panel controller. Okay, thanks a lot, everyone. Hope this has been somewhat useful for you, somewhat interesting and informative. Just a few other items that I thought might be of interest. We can see here the connectors coming off the power supply, and even though both wires are white, there is sort of coating to them. You can kind of see, so you can kind of still tell which is which. Color would be easier. And here you can see that what's hooked up is the plus 5 volt connector. So we've got plus 5 volts, ground, and we've got another ground. That's where the mains wire is coming in. So it'd be interesting to check and see. That's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if the power supply actually is putting out both plus 5 and plus 12. It'd be kind of interesting if the power supply is putting out all those different voltages, because you could easily get a 12 volt fan. In fact, I have a 12 volt fan here. So I have this 12 volt fan. Of course, you can't see it. There we are. 12 volt fan for fan is designed really for graphics cards. But that fan would fit perfectly on the back there. And so if the power supply is putting off 12 volts, it might be a simple way to power that. That would probably keep it running nice and cool inside. extend life. So we'll give that some thought. We got the unit fully splayed open. Power is connected, so I've got to be really careful here. Let's turn this on to voltage. So that's currently reading DC volts. It's not going to be any surprise. Flip to AC for a second. These are the mains. So got 121.8 volts coming in. No surprise there. So DC volts. So let's see what we've got now. I just have to say that I've got my magnifying glass out, and so the two other points are so they're both +5 outputs. The 12 volts has a +12 and a -12. So let's connect. These are the grounds, so get that. Okay, well that says it's 18 volts, so that's not 12. And that says it's 16 volts. Okay. And okay, well at least the +5 is pretty close to 5. And the other +5 is close to 5. But I have to say, I'm going to try that again. These other ones, and they're not even using the 12 volt lines. Yeah, so that's reading 16, 16.5. And that's reading 18 to 19 volts. So, interesting. So the entire system here is running off of the power supply. Has capabilities to put out other voltages. The 5 volt outputs are nice and close to where they ought to be. But the plus and minus 12 volt lines are just nowhere near 12 volts. Not that it matters because they're not in use. Yeah, so that's 4.95. I would give that a 5. And 4.96, I'd give that a 5 as well. Well, that's interesting. So, I'll see if in use any of the system gets warm, because there's always a trade-off sticking a fan in here. Might want to find out more about this board that's being used for the power supply. Don't want to overtax that, but I think it should be able to handle everything. So pretty cool. Okay, so I've got the unit back together. It all snaps together with a grid clicking of plastic parts snapping into the right spots. So something else I noticed as I was putting it together, so these pseudo bumpers, you know, that's sort of the trend these days with this sort of equipment. These aren't actually rubber bumpers, these are just part of the plastic molding. But one of the purposes of these bumpers is if you've got the unit and you've got the bail that also works as a handle, right? And you're carrying it around, right? I mean, that's what you want to do with lab equipment. Carry it around, place to place, set it down, right? You want these bumpers to hold all the important parts off the ground, right? Well, that's kind of where the design is maybe a little lacking. I don't know if you can tell. I'll bring it right up to the edge here. But the bumpers are not supporting the weight. The BNC connectors are. So A little bit of a design fail there, if you ask me, since the purpose of the bumpers would be to protect the delicate connectors from making contact with the ground, which they're not doing. And of course, the problem is even more severe for the ones on the top. You can kind of see here, if we get the angle right, these go quite a bit beyond the bumpers. Now, I'm just gonna, what I'll do for a second, I'll reposition the bail and give you a sense by holding it down. So it's really obvious here where the BNC connectors for the outputs are placed from the front panel, that these are a fair bit longer than the bumpers. Now, I know it's not very likely that you're going to set the thing down on the front. That's kind of a hard thing to do given the structure of the unit. Why would you ever do something like that? But if you're into the finesse of the design and you're into these details, the back is a little better. And of course, the back parts you would be setting down on the ground if you were carrying it around. And they don't clear either, so a little disappointing there.